Hi, Jane here. Glad to see you with me again this week. This week, I want to talk to you about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and it's kind of a different kind of post this week. I want to talk to you about one of my favorite authors. I want to talk to you about the legacy that Harold Bell Wright left through all of his works, but in particularly in his writing of the novel called The Shepherd of the Hills. Now, if you have any age on you at all, you've probably heard of it. Some of you younger ones may have not. But the book was published originally in 1907. So it's been around for a while. And I want to I want to talk to you today in terms of what he did, but I also want to speak to the writer within you and what you're thinking and what you're planning or pondering about your own writing. Uh, do you ever think about your writing having great influence or being able to have great influence somewhere, somehow? Um, do you have aspirations of becoming an author that reaches out and touches people in a real way to leave a mark, a valued mark on people? I think sometimes in this society we kind of lose track of things like that, or we shoot for the best selling thing, and that's our goal. But I want to share with you Harold Bell Wright's story because that's not how he was living. He was a man very much like you and me. Now, in his particular case, he felt called to the ministry. He was a Christian. He loved God. He loved Jesus, and he pastored churches for a while. But he was also an avid writer, and he wrote about what he was passionate about. And so I'm not going to recount all of his life history. There's a lot of information available on him in many places online and offline. So I encourage you to read about him because to me, he's just a very interesting man. But one of the most interesting things about him to me is the legacy that he has left. The Shepherd of the Hills was published 110 years ago as of right now when I'm doing this video. That's a long time. That was at the beginning of the 20th century. We're 17 years into the 21st century, and his book is still holding records. For one thing, it was the first American novel to sell more than 1 million copies. Not a lot of people know that, but you can find it out there. It's factual. And it's still one of the top ranking books of all times, right up there, real close under the Bible, which is still the number one at this point. Um, but he was such a man of character, and he just was passionate about his message. His first book that he wrote wasn't actually intended to be a book. He wrote it when he was pastoring in his first church, I believe, and it was just a series of stories that he wrote to get his points across to his congregation in, I believe they said, in his Sunday evening services. And ultimately it was published as his first book, and it was called That Printer of Udell's, and it became very popular. So he actually sat down to write a story, a novel with The Shepherd of the Hills, which he did, and he completed it and published it in 1907. So in doing that, he visited the Missouri Ozarks. Well, he pastored in Lebanon, Missouri, in various places around the Ozark area. And he visited friends of his. He made friends with some Ozark Mountain people here in the Branson area way back at the turn of the century, right before the turn of the century. And he spent time with them. He came here for his health, and he just spent time with them. And he began to weave his story around the lives of these people. And so The Shepherd of the Hills is based on real people. And of course the names were changed, and you can do some research. I would love to give you all of that, but I don't have time here or in my post. But I may visit this again and give you some more information. But if you do just a little bit of research out there, which is real easy today, you'll just find out so much about Harold Bell Wright and about the Shepherd of the Hills, the story and everything that transpired after that. Uh, the legacy of Harold Bell Wright um, touched the Branson area deeply. He's credited for bringing the actual tourism industry into Branson and the Ozarks. Right after the book was published, people knew that it was based on places and events and things around the Branson area, and they began to visit the area because they wanted to see the landmarks that at the time were still standing. I can remember coming here as a child with my parents and going out the 76 strip, if you're familiar with the area, headed on out towards Silver Dollar City. I'm wearing their shirt today. And you could see, as you were going out, you could see a certain place on the face of a knoll there that was clearly marked. It was a rock jutting out, and there was a sign that said Sammy's Lookout. Well, Sammy is one of the characters, one of the main characters in The Shepherd of the Hills, and so that was the rock that some of the book took place at. You know, it was her father's cabin was down in on the other side of the road, and it's all grown up now, and they're buildings and entertainment things and all kinds of things that have grown up and taken over. But I remember the times when it was still very much, you could see a lot of what the Shepherd of the Hills was all about when you came here. And from the very beginning in the early 1900s, people came here and they wanted to see one of the main characters in the book was Old Matt and his wife Molly, and they lived in a cabin, and that cabin is still here. It's on, I believe it's on the historical register for old buildings, and it's a beautiful place. And in 1960, the owners of the old property out there introduced the outdoor theater that actually put on the outdoor remake of The Shepherd of the Hills. It was fabulous. You sat there under the stars and just watched the whole story take place in front of you, and it was remarkable. That play lasted 57 years, and it's kind of what prompted me to do this post this week, because just a little bit ago we got a news piece locally that said that the Shepherd of the Hills homestead was closing, and that in the 2017 season they were not going to reopen and do the play anymore. So it's the whole thing. It lasted 57 years, and there is some word around town. I haven't heard anything official, but rumor has it that possibly someone is coming in and we'll pick that up and we'll revitalize that again and have it continue on. The Shepherd of the Hills is an amazing story, written by an amazing author, but he's not superhuman. He was just a man. He was just a person like you or me. And he faced all kinds of issues in his life. He didn't have a particularly easy life. And he wrote his passion. He was true to what he believed, and I read where right after Shepherd of the Hills was published, it was actually written as kind of a test, because he was trying to decide in his life whether he was be more effective in pulpit ministry as a preacher, or if he would be more effective with a pen as an author. And after writing The Shepherd of the Hills and it going everywhere that it went, his publisher, once it was printed and it started to take off, his publisher said, "I believe you should follow the pen and not the pulpit." And Harold Bell Wright, the author, took off. He's left a tremendous legacy. I believe he's written 19 volumes total, and I've read many of them. It's on my bucket list to read all of them. But I've read many of them, and I quite like them. I like the humanness of him. I like the realness of him. I like the wholesomeness of his stories, personally. They're full. The Shepherd of the Hills is so full of suspense and excitement. I can remember reading it as a child. I was introduced to it by my mother when I was, no, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. And I read it one summer, and it was just, I was awestruck by it. And the legacy of Harold Bell Wright touched me personally in that it fired in me such a love for the Ozarks as a region and for the Ozark people, the way of life, the all of that. I just, and just a few years ago, I've lived all over the country, and now here I am back in my Ozarks, and I love it. I've come home, and I really credit Harold Bell Wright for some of that, because The Shepherd of the Hills, I just bought my 5th copy of it last winter in December, and I bought it from one of the local stores downtown, and it's been reprinted in 2010, and it's a marvelous copy. It's, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's printed exactly like the original, in the original format from the early 1900s, and the people that evidently had the reprint done are the stewards of the Harold Bell Wright Museum here in Branson. And that, if you're interested in seeing it, if you get the chance to come around, it's located in the world's largest toy museum up on the Strip there in Branson. And so you have to go to my blog post on this. You know, sometimes you can skip the blog post and the videos are fine, but please go check out my blog, because there are links in there for you to gather more information about Harold Bell Wright, about local impact, that kind of thing. His influence, his legacy is still playing out right now. This afternoon, I had occasion to drive into town. Traffic was crazy because there's so many people in town. Are they all here because of him? Well, maybe not directly, but he's the one that opened the first door to tourism in Branson. And the city is very faithful to that, and very acknowledging of that. And it's a well-known fact around town. So, like I said, there's a lot about that fits us today, you know? And so I would pose the question to you: where are you with your writing? Are you sitting by thinking, well, I can't do anything like that? Well, I'm no Harold Bell Wright. Well, Harold Bell Wright didn't know. He was just a man named Harold with a vision and trying to walk his way through his life and do what he needed and wanted to do, just like I do, just like you do. And so it's not up to you to decide whether your legacy is going to be huge. Or it happened. He was faithful to what was in his heart, and I look at what is still transpiring because of it. More than 110 years later, that's a long time to have influence. And so I personally believe that we all have influence, and when we turn that over to the Lord, it can just go where he wants it to go. And I believe that that's what Mr. Wright did. I believe that he just wrote what was in his heart, and something tremendous happened with it. There was no magic to it. He didn't have some special thing. He was able to capture the moment with those people. And he is credited for actually encapsulating or saving that lifestyle and that way of living and being and speaking that was here in that time in the Ozarks. And when you read the Shepherd of the Hills, and I so encourage you to do so, you'll see that dialogue and that way of speaking and thinking and doing that was just very much a part of that time in history in this region. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful piece of literature. So I would just pose the question to you: do you have the courage to step out and write your story? I still say everyone has a story. We have more than one story. Do you have the courage to step out and write it? I so encourage you to take hold of it and get going. Come on, get in. If you need help with it in any way, please go to my website and email me, and we'll talk about it. I'll help you where I can. I am more than willing to be there for you and assist. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you got something out of it. Please check the blog and check the links on there so you can learn more about this wonderful man, Harold Bell Wright, and his legacy. Thank you. God bless.